Yeah.
Good afternoon, class. My name is Isaiah Tagatak, and these are my two lovely partners, Lisa Lee and Chenelle Aquino. Today, our topic, our presentation will be about parental divorce. First off, what is parental divorce? Parental divorce is the legal dissolution of a marriage by court or other competent body. And also, according to divorcecouples.com, 40 to 50% of married couples get divorced. Next slide. Our essential knowledge question is, to what extent does parental choices affect families, relationship, and emotions? But first off, I'll give you guys a brief summary of my real life example. So there's a married couple in Massachusetts in 2011, October 3rd. Kim and Susan was a married couple. They had their first child and ended up having financial problems, which they were unstable. And as more time passed by, they had a second child, which caused more stress, more money. And as they had a second child, Susan confesses that she was cheating on Pim. So Pim was upset, and obviously they ended up breaking up or divorcing. As they broke up, they made an agreement of where Pim would see the kids all the time. However, the wife Susan would see their kids while Pim's at work. Both of the kids were both males, and they both understood that their parents divorced. However, they both took it pretty hard. The older kid was pretty more mature and handled it a little easier, while the younger one had difficulties not seeing his parents united anymore. As time went on, Susan became depressed, not seeing her children as much, which she took medicine and also went to therapy. So how does that connect to our central knowledge question? So with them divorcing, as I said, the parents, they both were stressed, feeling lonely, and they weren't united. Also, their decisions, if they ended up in bad terms, their decisions could have been different to their kids. For example, they want to be a better parent, as in giving their kids more toys, so they'll like their mom better or their dad better. And for their kids' emotions and behaviors, for example, when they're at school and they have like a family meeting, they'll feel uncomfortable coming with one dad or one mom, and they'll feel ashamed telling their friends that their parents aren't together anymore. And also, with them growing up and seeing their parents fight and argue, they may not want to have a relationship in the future with another gender, which could also say they could turn gay, because they've seen their parents argue in their different genders. And as they grow up, the children, they can reflect back on their memories, and they may become in depression seeing their parents not together, not being together at all. And also, their emotions may be affected by being at fault, because they're two children while they see their parents divorced, so they can feel at fault because of their actions as well. Also, it could mislead to misbehavior in class and being arrogant to many people. And yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the next linking secondary knowledge question. The next slide. What role does children play in their parents' happiness? And so a big factor in how a parent's well-being and happiness is it's affected by their children. And taking into thought that they actually care and love their children, with the love and care that they carry for their children, their emotions ought to swerve in different directions depending on what their children do. So once a child starts to succumb to something that the parents don't approve of, the relationship between the two start to crumble, and thus putting a strain on the parents' happiness. So for instance, in a Huffington Post Rose Gilman in 2014. She shared her experience with her son struggling with drug abuse. So it was before her son turned 18, so basically at home she would rarely see her son, and if she did see him, he would be intoxicated by drugs. And whenever she wanted to talk and console him with this problem, she would actually feel fear in talking to him because the son would exert a presence that he did not want to be bothered, and if he did get bothered, he would just yell, lie, and continue to argue with his mother. Sooner or later, she got a call about her son that her son passed out in a car while being intoxicated by drugs at a stoplight, and so when they called her, she felt scared. She came to the conclusion that she could not take it anymore, and so in the end, she asked her son to either get help or to leave the house. And so the son chose to leave the house. After about 10 days at night, on the 10th night, the son came back to her and and then the son explained that he wanted to get help, and that's when she took him back in. And so because of what the son was doing, it was affecting the mother's happiness greatly. As I've said before, she would feel scared and she would lose her appetite and she wouldn't want to communicate with anybody else. Her emotions depleted, and it shows that children actually do have an effect on their parents' emotions and happiness. As a way of knowing, emotion can serve as an obstacle of knowledge. In strong emotions as an obstacle of knowledge can be separated into 3 other ways of knowing, and one of them is reason. In the TOK book, it states that reason can negatively affect the emotions of people, and if you hold your beliefs too passionately, then a theory will be created that my theory is right or wrong type of attitude. So this can be applied to the son in my example, because the son held the drugs as his passion and thus believed that he was doing what was right and ignored what his mother was saying and was doing what he wanted to do. He started to fall deeper into the depths of addiction, and this prevented him to be open-minded. Some may say that although despite of what their child is doing, the parents should always be happy for their child. Although in this case, taken from this article, the son was close to death, and the mother, taking into thought that she actually does love and care for her son, she could not possibly be happy for her son to be so close to death. The secondary knowledge question connects to our real-life example because Susan's children is a possible factor into when Susan started developing depression. When dealing with the divorce, the children are the most thought of, and Susan may have accumulated what she was feeling for the children and thus regretting the decision of the divorce.
Our next thinking knowledge question is, how does emotion play a role in decision making? So emotions cause our decision making to be more or less reasonable. We may have a particular emotion, such as fear or disgust. According to the TOK book, fear and disgust are the 2 top emotions that affect our choices in each situation. So, for example, us being teenagers, we know that some parents can be really strict. We know that if someone were to ask their parents, "Oh, mom, dad, can I go out tonight?" and it's probably 9, and they would tell us, "Oh no, we want you to stay home. You don't know what's out there. We'd rather have you here safe at home." So the parents would adjust their beliefs to their emotions, which causes which is why their response to us is the way it is. They feel as though since we're teens, we're naive and we don't know what's out there. But for us, in our mindset, we feel as though we can take care of ourselves and we can be responsible. On the other hand, you have other parents who are more lenient to their child due to empathy. They may feel as though when they were younger, they had strict parents as well, so they wouldn't want their kids to go through the same thing. So they would be more lenient towards their kids. irrational emotions, or because emotions are unavoidable. You can't, no matter how hard you try to avoid your emotions, it's in our mindset and it's something that we can't avoid. So back to our real life situation, him and Susan, they may have chosen to separate or to separate because they feel as though that was right, but they didn't take into their emotions. They put their child's emotions in their decision making so that they can they're able to allow the kids to see both parents. So next slide. Other real life situations would include those who grew up in a religious household that follow according to the Bible. So in accordance to the Bible, marriage is not to be broken, for it states that it's a lifetime commitment, and that since God put you two together, you shouldn't separate, because in the Bible it says that the Lord hates divorce. So there is one exception, however, that there is this phrase that says, except for marital unfaithfulness, which basically means that phrase allows you to divorce someone with God's approval.
Another real life situation that I will take into consideration is that when a child grows up seeing an unhealthy relationship between the parents, this unhealthy relationship will be, for instance, an unfaithful partner in the marriage. When growing up, seeing either the father or mother cheating and lying to the significant other, this can have an effect on the child in the future. So when the child grows up, he or she will think about how growing up in a home where their parents, either the mom or dad, would lie to each other, it will be hard for the child to find another significant other, because he or she will look back onto that and think, oh, like, a significant other can lie to me just as my father lied to my mother, or vice versa. Not only that, but there can also be a strain between the one who lies and the children himself, him or herself. Because if that guardian who lies and deceives their partner, what makes them think that the child can trust that specific guardian? This can also have a drawback in the relationship, thus creating a strain. Next slide, please.
Conclusion. So, to what extent does parental decisions affect the family's emotions and behavior? So, as Chenelle and Lisa said, as the Bible and kids staying up at night, yes, it could affect the family's emotions and behavior, because as time goes on, as the children gets older, they may have different decisions in their life because of seeing their parents as leaders and as their parents being the main household of their house.
Thank you.